Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a tour of the sixth and the last project in my 6 weeks 6 project challenge. So in this week I didn't build anything new, rather I tried to improve something I've previously had, which is a portfolio starter in Next.js. So I built this starter 2 years ago and I noticed a lot of people are using it, a lot of people have forked it, and a lot of people kind of like it. So it made more sense to devote some time into improving this project. So enough of the talk and let me show you around. So I'm going to start with content types. I have 3 content types right now. I have the walks, I have articles, and I have notes. I'm going to show you later in this video how those are organized in the code, but let's take a look at all the content types. So first I'm going to start with the simplest content type, which are the notes. Imagine you have this kind of content that you ideally don't want to spend a lot of time into making, would want to document versus create, and that is the idea for the notes. The notes are organized under the content folder in the notes. So when you create a new note here, it's going to pop up here under the notes category, and there's the details page for the notes. The next content type are the articles. So these are more long form content. Ideally you want to spend some time into preparing this, and they have a lot more purpose and are tailored for a particular audience. To create an article, you would ideally go under the articles folder and create one there. And the next is the works, and this is where as a software engineer you would want to show your work or your project. This is categorized into 2, the selected works and other experiments. Now in my previous video I talked about how you should ideally have about 2 or 3 in-depth projects and then a few other experiments. This starter follows that guide. So the works are organized in the work folder in the content. As you can see, there's a field here, selected work. When you set this to true, it's going to display the work or the project as a selected or a featured project. When you set it to false, it's just going to have the rest of your project here. Now I'll show you what this looks like in my personal website. If you go to works here, there are a couple of selected works, about 3 of them, and then there are more projects or experiments. If you click on any of these, is kind of presented in a different way, in a way that is more digestible. For instance, you can show a lot of meta information like the tech stack and the date, and I also plan to add like a link to a live demo or a GitHub repository. I'm currently working on this. Other experiments are not different actually, they are just what people would less likely click, and they have the same format also. These are the 3 content types, and you can always disable any. For instance, I have just works and articles. I'm hiding the notes somewhere down in the website. Now the next part of this that I want to show you are testimonials. You could have a collection of testimonials or a section to show what people have to say about you, and they are going to like appear as a slideshow, and you can choose to comment them out if you don't want. There's a testimonials.js file that you could easily just modify to get the testimonials, and it's using a library called swiper.js underneath to kind of render this slider. Now I forgot to mention that there's dark mode, and it's using a library called next themes to kind of smooth all the edges that comes with implementing dark mode in Next.js. Now you must be noticing the entry animations. There's this kind of slide up and fade up animation that is on every page whenever you try to navigate. So this is powered by Framer Motion, and it's just a transition on route change. And remember, this is open source, and I'll leave a link to the repository in the comments. You can always go and check it out and see what's happening inside of the code base. So the next thing I want to talk about is RSS. Right now RSS is implemented with a library called feed.js, and I'm going to show you how it works. So if you click on this RSS icon, it's going to take you to a dedicated page that is going to act as a hook for all RSS readers, and this is only going to publish article content types because it wouldn't make sense to publish new notes or new projects, right? As a bonus tip, you can try to format this with an RSS Chrome extension. I have this one here called RSS feed reader, and if I reload, it's going to at least show that the RSS works properly by giving me this user interface that shows like a proper RSS feed. Like I said before, I'm using a library feed.js to handle RSS. Previously I was using the RSS library, but that was becoming too large, and feed.js is a more modern one. So the way this works is that I'm going to pipe the list of all articles to feed.addItem method, and it's going to add items to the RSS feed. Now it's important to note that I'm only doing this for article content types, as it wouldn't make sense to publish feeds for like a new project added or a new note added. And you might be wondering where I'm calling this generate RSS from. I'm actually calling it in the generate static params function, which is an async function given to us by Next.js to statically generate pages. So inside of this method where I am to generate pages at build time, I'm going to call this generate RSS, and it's also going to generate rss.xml file, which is a list of the RSS feed. After I kind of generate the RSS, I'm writing this to the public/rss.xml file, and this is going to make it publicly accessible in the rss.xml part. Now let's talk about some improvements that I plan to make to this starter in the future. The first of them is to use Open Graph image generation provided by Next.js. Now this is a way to generate social media preview images by just writing React components. Now this is something I've always wanted to fix for a long time on my personal site. So whenever I try to share an article or a link from my personal site, I'm always very careful about how it's going to be previewed on these social media platforms. I would really love to take this part away, honestly. I don't have to worry about it. And with the Open Graph image generation provided by Vessel, you do not have to worry about this. Once you provide a good template, it's going to be generated by default. Now the next feature I want to add is table of contents to the articles. Now this is not something I personally want, but a couple of people have reached out to me saying they would want this feature. Now I haven't really researched about how this should work. I believe there should be a simple way to pass headers in Markdown files. I'm obviously going to do some research and come up with a solution. Now speaking of Markdown, this starter only supports Markdown files. In the next iteration, I'm going to add support for MDX files because it's something a lot of people have asked about also. So I also forgot to tell you a bit about how this starter is built. So it's currently using Next.js 14 alongside Tailwind CSS for the styling, and it also uses TypeScript for type checking. Like I said earlier, the link to the repository is going to be in the comments. If you're currently using this starter, I would like to know your experience so far, and if you're not, consider checking it out because it's personally helped me present my work in the best light possible, and I believe it's going to help you also. Now that's it for this video, and that's a wrap for my 6 weeks 6 projects challenge. I've built a couple of interesting stuff in the past 6 weeks, including an experimental backend framework and a resume builder and a whole lot of other projects. My approach to this is to find little projects that I wish existed and try to build them. And so far, this has been a mind-blowing way to get all my ideas out of paper and to get them into working prototypes. More than half of the projects are solutions to problems that I personally face, and I actively use these projects already. And then the most important part of this whole exercise is to improve on these projects from time to time. Now I'm so excited to come to the end of this challenge, and if you've been following me from the first project, I'm so grateful to have you around. Now I can't wait to go back to videos that explore more interesting topics in software engineering, and I want you to follow along in this journey. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up, and see you in my next video.